one of the things that I would like to talk about is the importance of humanities education, because I think there's not enough encouragement that's given to students to pursue the humanities anymore, and it's a real shame. I'm not saying that students who want to be doctors or who, you know, like math and are going to be astrophysicists, that they necessarily need to study humanities. I think they do. So I'm not going to steer those students into the humanities, but I don't want to steer the students who have a joy in it away from it. And I feel that a lot of that is happening, especially among immigrants, because even, you know, when I was going to college, my parents were, you know, a little bit worried about the fact that I was going to be an English major. You know, it's like, wow, you already know how to speak English. And so I'd like to say that, you know, with my English degree, and then I have an MFA as well, I've been able to do so many different jobs. And it's because studying humanities teaches you to make sense of a huge body of material and information, condense it, put it to use, help others, be of use in the world, in a way that few other disciplines really prepare you to do. And so if you're training now in this rapidly changing world for a single thing, by the time you graduate, it could be a completely different world that needs other things. Whereas if you study the humanities, you are prepared to be a nimble thinker, and you are prepared to meet the challenges that this rapidly changing world is throwing at you, and to be of use with your ability to gather knowledge, to make sense of it, to entertain, even to bring joy. And I've had a very varied career. I started as a journalist, then I became a freelance writer and photographer in South Asia. I was in Afghanistan for 10 days at the height of the Taliban in the late 90s. I covered conflict, I photographed conflict, then I started a new writing program at Maastricht University. I was a program director for a grant here. You know, I was a columnist at the Miami Herald. So I've been able to do a lot of different jobs fearlessly, in a way, because I feel I'll figure it out, I'll learn it, I'll study it, I'll read up on it. I remember when I was a grant director, we had to write an annual report, and everybody would say, oh, it's an annual report for a grant. I said, well, I'll just read a couple annual reports and I'll get it. And of course you do. It's easy. And so that's, you know, one of the things that I want to say to students. And the other thing is the importance of time management. I give this as a module in some of my classes because I see students just get completely overwhelmed. And I said, listen, there's no way that you're going to be a professional writer, a professional artist of any kind without developing really good time management skills. Because when you don't have deadlines looming over you, when you don't have a professor giving you an F, you have to be your own boss, and you really need to learn what it is that you need to do. And I'm trying to teach my young son this now because he's a little bit all over the place, as all, you know, he's 12. And so we do checklists. I'm a big believer in the checklist. There's a morning checklist, there's an evening checklist. There's a wonderful book called The Checklist by it's a New Yorker writer, it's a doctor, I can't remember his name right now, but it's a fabulous book. And they're magic, right? So that's number one. Every morning there's a checklist. Every afternoon there's a checklist. There's a great joy in just checking off those little boxes. You know, get yourself a weekly calendar and block off time, you know, depending on what it is that you need. Block it off. You know, Tuesdays are my writing day. I don't write every day because I'm busy, I'm teaching, I'm grading, and I find that it's not, for me, I can't write just, let's say, 30 minutes in the morning. Some people can do that. I don't. It takes me a long time to get into it, and then once I'm into it, I need to stay in it. I need a whole day at least. Ideally, a chunk of time like the summer, which I have now, thank goodness, as a professor. So block off your time, and if you don't do that, somebody else will do it for you, or Instagram will do it for you, and you'll work for Instagram for free instead of for yourself. And so that's number one. And number two is to have just a sense of where you also want to go that year. You know, what is your big goal for that year? What is it that you want to accomplish? And then set up your weekly schedule for that. And then, of course, set yourself up financially if you can. And that involves, it's a long conversation, probably longer than we have time for now, but that involves saving at least 50% of what you bring home. And that means just setting it up for direct deposit once it gets into your checking account every month. Half of that goes into savings. You don't even miss it. You don't see it. And that gives you the freedom to create. That gives you the freedom to say this job is not doing it for me, and I'm going to have to leave, or I'm going to have to do something else. And it gives you that, you know, you become your own patron of the arts, and that's very important. And that's part of just the discipline, same kind of discipline that comes from time management. And I think writers and artists have a reputation in the popular imagination of being kind of flighty and disorganized. But I'll tell you, novelists are some of the most organized people I know.